are brought to you by Joshua LaFon with Simply Vegas Real Estate, a realtor here to help educate current and future Las Vegas locals on selling and investing in real estate. You're probably asking yourself, educate. Yes, there's a surprising amount of adults that when it comes to real estate, don't know the right questions to ask, don't know where to start, and think they need a lot of cash to buy a house in Nevada, which simply isn't true. So Josh has decided to make it his responsibility to teach his clients what they need to know, and equally important, what they need to ask to help ensure making their home ownership dreams a true reality. So make sure you call or text Joshua LaFon today at 702-813-0533. This has been another paid advertisement from Joshua LaFon with Simply Vegas Real Estate. Make sure you give him a call, 702-813-0533.
You must be kicking yourself for not walking out when you could. Bad judgment. But don't you worry, son. It will all be over soon.
Anthony, give me a boy's name that starts with the letter H. Jose.
Bobby, it's me, your daddy, Roberto.
Daddy?
Occasionally, you may hear it pronounced as Joao. It depends.
It's called Rex Kwando.
Look at me now. How far we go back? Elementary, jump rope, hide and go seek, pitty pat, red light, green light, red light, green light.
Hello? You play to win the game.
You are tuned in to Straight Bet Sports on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network.
That's right, Wednesday night, just past 9 p.m. You are tuning to Straight Bet Sports live here on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. I am your host, Jose V. Got Bradford sitting to me to the right. We're going to make that nickname stick. We told you, man, we're going to do it. But Ian, what's good, my man? I hope you're having a good night, and I hope you're ready to chop it up tonight. You staying warm? You ready for work later? I know you got to get to work.
Yeah, I'm outside tonight, so it's going to be a cold one. It's starting to get, 40 degrees. I know that's
night,
not
man.
Cold for our East Coast listeners.
East Coast people don't care. East Coast
yeah,
people,
they don't care. They're like 40 degrees, that's
straight.
summer. But we got this. We're going to have a good night tonight. Lots to talk about. We have Joe Arrigo from Franchise Media Sports with us tonight. So
yeah, man, it's going to be a good show. As Ian just mentioned, he beat me to the punch. We do have a good friend in the studio tonight. This is a long time coming. I've been wanting to chop it up with Joe. We're going to get to it. We're going to get into it with him here shortly. Me and Ian are going to do a couple things real quick just to start off the show. But trust me, we have a lot to talk about with Joe. If you guys are UNLV fans or even high school fans of sports here in Las Vegas, especially football, Joe is the guy to know. I've said it before on other shows. I've said it before with other people. I even done it on social media. When it comes to UNLV sports, you got to check out Joe Arrigo and Franchise Sports Media. Trust me, these guys have all the ins and outs and things that you will not find or hear anywhere else, so trust me. And what they post is legit. It's not fake. It's not hearsay. It's not I heard so-and-so told so-and-so's grandma's cousin's aunt's uncle. No, this dude's got the legit scoop of everything. So like I said, we are going to jump into it with Joe Arrigo here shortly. But before we do, though, let me let everybody know, as I do every single weekend, right, Ian? If you guys are watching, we are live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on all Gorilla Cross radio platforms. Of course, GorillaCross.com and the Gorilla Cross app on Apple and Android. Go ahead and download it today if you have not already done so. Check out all of the content on there. We greatly appreciate Quan59 behind the big board, as he is for us every single Wednesday night, doing what he does for us. Thanks to our sponsors, Joshua LaFon, which I already told you, Ian, we've already confirmed. Next month is technically our last month of our agreement, but we're signing up for another 6 months. So we're going to hit the 2-year mark, thankfully, thank God, here on Gorilla Cross Radio. So we appreciate that. To Joshua LaFon with Simply Vegas Real Estate, and of course, Eric Navarro of Line 'em Up from Eric, our personal barber, which I'm going to be seeing on Friday. That's why I got the hat on tonight.
There you go.
I had the hair combed because I went to the Golden Knights game. Big shout out to Garrett Calloway over there at the Vegas Golden Knights for hooking me up tonight with a credential. Checked out the first period of that game, man. Good start. Golden Knights were up 1-0 down. I think it was tied 1-1 when I did leave. So we'll see how that ends up going.
I think they're still tied 1-1.
But Ian, we got a lot to talk about tonight, though, man.
Yes,
Definitely.
we do. Yes, we do.
Let's jump off these topics real quick before we get going. Last night, NBA season has started already, right? We had the Lakers play the Warriors. If you were on Spaces last night with me on Twitter and a bunch of other people, I told you, do not be surprised if Golden State wins this game. I liked the plus money on this side, even though there was no Klay Thompson. And a lot of people say, well, the Lakers look bad in preseason. I didn't look at the preseason. I just thought in general, The first game was going to be a game that they did not have to start correctly. They did not have a good camaraderie or everything going on together with that team. They hadn't played together the right way. Russell Westbrook is getting the ball taken out of his hand, not looking like the same guy. Granted, it's only the first game of the season. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be tough for them to win this championship this season, though, because they're going to be the definition of load management this year. But Golden State pulls it off. Steph Curry with the triple-double, even though he shot 5 of 21, still got that triple-double last night. What did you see in that game?
Well, I saw everyone except for Russ and Steph actually doing their thing. Steph picked it up later in the game, but he was struggling early on, probably wasn't comfortable right off the gate. But I think Warriors been thinking about this since last year, the play-in game. You know, they got beat by the Lakers. They've been wanting their revenge,
and they already beat them in preseason.
They already beat them in preseason, but I think this was a real sugar on top that they want to get this going, get their season going really well. I don't know what either of these teams are yet, because I agree with you. I think that it's going to be really tough for the Lakers to win a championship this year. I think that they're aging. I think that it's going to be about them circling in their bench well, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that this year. We'll wait and see later on in the season. But the Warriors look good. The Warriors look like they were passing the ball a lot.
Bielitsa, is that how you say his name? The dude coming off the bench. That dude is sick, man. He's somebody that you have to watch out for this year. It's going to be fun to watch them. Obviously, as well, last night, the defending champ Milwaukee Bucks come out. If you guys saw their ring, sick, legit. Opens up, turns into a necklace as well.
That's
and
dope.
It has a QR code that you can scan, which is sick because it shows the final play right before they won the championship to close it out.
Is that what that shows?
Dude, it's amazing. It's awesome.
Amazing.
If you haven't checked it out, check that out. Check out the whole presentation of it and everything. But they come out and completely murder. This line was fluctuating 1.5-1 throughout the week leading up to this game. It closed at 1 for Milwaukee. They come out and win by 30, I believe it was. Just unbelievable. Great game for them to start. I said it last night as well. If you're looking at some value for future bets, why not take this team at plus 800? I'm not saying they're going to win it, but why would you take a favorite at plus 145 or even money when you can get the defending champ that brought back everyone at plus 800? Thoughts on Milwaukee?
Absolutely. Not only that, Giannis looks better. I don't know how we can say that, right? He's a MVP, Finals MVP, but he looks better. He's been working on this jump shot for a while, and it's actually come together now that it looks smooth. Like he was pulling up from almost anywhere and just like buckets. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to definitely be a contender this year. I don't know if they're going to be a repeat. That's a hard task. We saw it with the Lakers. We saw it with other teams, but I like the Bucks. I like what we saw from Giannis, and I think that they're definitely a team to beat.
Moving on to baseball, Dodgers lost tonight 9-2. They're now down 3-1 to the Atlanta Braves. I know everybody's already chiming in on Facebook. Mo from Girl Chat Sports, big up to you. I know you're a huge Dodger fan. Goose Thomas from Let the Ball Bounce is chiming in as well, saying one more for the Braves. I think it's over, Ian. I'm gonna get your thoughts on this, but obviously I got the Dodger hat on. I'm from LA. Got to root for the hometown team. You already know that. But the way they pitched tonight, the way they're not hitting tonight, how tough it's been, how they had to come back the night before. Not only that, Mo just said Justin Turner out for the remainder of the playoffs. That's a huge blow for the Dodgers. I think it's done, man. They were the favorite to win it all. Second most wins in MLB this season. They knock out the overall favorite in the Giants when it came to the wins. Is it over with, man?
I think so. I think they're done. Their whole thing, same thing with the Red Sox, has been consistency, and we actually haven't seen that this series. So I think that to come back from a 1-3, especially against the Braves team that's just doing it all, I think it's going to be really tough for them to overcome that. Same thing with the Boston Red Sox. I think. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think consistency has been their strong point throughout, especially batting consistency. They've had the third best OPI in the entire league. So I definitely think that consistency has been the strong point, except for this series. And we just saw it with Sale being absolutely obliterated tonight by the Astros. I just don't see them coming back either. I think the Astros take this, and I think it's going to be Astros Braves, which.
And here's the thing. We just talked about it before the show started. That is the worst when it comes to the money, the viewership. Unless you're a Braves or an Astros fan, nobody else wants to see the Braves and the Astros in the World Series. Trust me. I know MLB doesn't, because that is the worst possible scenario for them financially. They're not going to work. But I'm going to tell you this. I forgot what the pitcher's name is for Boston. But ever since he did this, Houston has now won 2 straight. You woke a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
You do not do that when Carlos Correa is doing the same thing with his watch, saying it's my time. Houston's up 3-2. I don't like Houston. They're cheaters. We know what happens. Some of the players don't want to admit it. It is what it is. But it's over, man. I don't see Boston coming back from this. I think Houston is just hot right now. And to be honest with you, if it does end up being Houston, Atlanta, I see Houston winning the World Series.
I actually like Braves there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it goes when we get
I think
there.
Braves in that scenario.
But NFL, final topic that we're going to talk about before we jump into it with Joe. You are tuning to Straight Bet Sports live here on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. I know you wanted to give your thoughts on Big Ben. You were telling me that Big Ben should just call it quits and retire. I don't have much to say about Big Ben. I think he's done regardless. I don't think they're going to win anything else with him at the helm. But please, Bradford, give us your thoughts.
So I've been saying for literally the last 3 years that this man needs to hang it up. His deep ball has been deteriorating in front of our eyes, including this year. Is he even throwing 40% over 15 yards?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so. I know for sure that he has a worse percentage past 15 yards than Cam Newton, and we saw that Cam Newton is struggling to get a starting gig again. So I don't understand why people, especially Steelers fans, are still hung up on Ben, saying that he's got it, he's looking good, he's going to get them out of this hole.
They're delusional.
I get it, but at the same time, Big Ben definitely needs to call it quits. Some guys can play in their 40s, some guys can't, and Big Ben's just not one of those guys.
Good stuff there, man. We had to run down a few topics. We're going to get into some more topics because we have a lot more to talk about. But if you guys have anything else to say or you want to chime on in, you already know the number, 702-608-3259. But with that being said, let's go ahead and now jump into our guest of the night. But before we do so, Quan, do you have that graphic for Eric Navarro? If you can please put that up for me, man. I would greatly appreciate it. Our guest tonight, and every single guest that we have every single Wednesday night, is brought to you by our second sponsor here on the show. We greatly appreciate our personal barber, Eric Navarro of Line 'em Up by Eric. Make sure you hit him up on IG, Line 'em Up by Eric, and give him a call. He does take appointments. That's the easiest way to get to him. He's cutting out a 5-star barbershop on Ann Road and Simmons, 702-884-8138. Make sure you hit up my guy, Eric. But let's go ahead and move on into it with our featured guest of the night. Again, long time coming, but I'm glad we finally got him in the studio and we get to chop it up with him tonight. He is none other than Joe Arrigo, good friend of mine from Franchise Sports Media. Joe, how's it going tonight, my man? Greatly appreciate you joining us.
Man, thank you for having me. I feel blessed. And hey, I'm gonna say this, real talk, the music bomb. When I hear Lucy Pearl,
that's Quan.
Hey,
that's
Lucy
Quan.
Pearl to come in with Outkast, and ironically, that song when I was going to Clark, Atlanta, that album came out. So that when you're driving down Peachtree, going down in Atlanta, all you heard was and you got these things chopped and slabbed going down.
Odie, Dopalicious Shody.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I mean, it's great to be on with you, man. It is a long time. I appreciate you, reaching out and extending the invitation. It means a lot, brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, I met you a few years back. You've been doing this media thing a lot longer than me. I just jumped into it a few years ago. Happened to run into good people like yourself, and we've been chopping it up ever since. But just want to talk a little bit about you before we get into everything else sports related, just about you in general. The reason I wanted to have you on, because I can have a conversation about a lot more than just sports with you. Mm-hmm. You've been through a lot in life in general. Mm-hmm. And I love that, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. And the reason I say that is because I'm going through something. I've been going through stuff. I've gone through stuff in my past. And to know someone like yourself, I see your posts, I see some of the things that you talk about away from sports when it comes to the mental health, when it comes to depression, when it comes to suicide. There's a lot of things in life that you've been around and you've been through. So you're around kids all the time. High school programs, you do a lot with high school programs. You do a lot with these college kids at UNLV. Like I said, and I said it again, I sound like a broken record. When it comes to UNLV sports, Joe Arrigo is the guy to know. There's no one else, no disrespect to anybody else, but this guy knows what he's talking about. Now, how do you balance life with everything that you're doing, Joe? Because I don't want to throw your personal life. That's on you to throw.
Go ahead. If you want to, I have no problem talking about it. That I think it's very important that we talk about it. Okay. So I'll say it right now. I have 5 children.
Okay.
3 from a marriage and then 2 after the marriage.
Okay.
My second oldest, my namesake Joey, he took his life last year in 2020. He battled depression and anxiety, and he had anxiety. And a lot of it came about after his mom and I separated, in all honesty. And moving from California, where I'm from, to Vegas did a number on the kids as well.
Gotcha.
You know,
Definitely,
they were
of
all
course.
in 8th grade. You know, they were like sophomore, freshman in 8th grade. And I didn't take that into consideration. And when our relationship got strained at one point, and then the last year of his life, like he went into a hospital and he checked himself in and he decided that, you know, I wanted to get help. And that's when his life and our relationship and his life changed, because what he ended up doing was he reached out to me, which I'm always there for my children. And he, you know, tapped into me, said, Dad, I need to talk. We talked. And that's when the healing began. And what I learned as a parent is I learned to listen, because there's no handbook to be a parent.
Definitely.
There is no like, this is how people can say the Bible, and that's cool if you're religious. But the reality is today, and what we go through as parents today is different than our parents when we were growing up. I mean, I'm 44. So I was out till the street lights came on. Supper was at
Same way,
5
yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out playing. I'm out with my boys. And then when I got older, I'm in the streets.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I'm not playing the sport. My son didn't play sport. He was gifted musically.
Okay.
And what ends up happening is, you know, like I listened to him. And our last conversation was 3 weeks, almost to the day before he took his life. And he said, Dad, this is where I need to talk with you. Yeah, son, whatever. What's up? He said, this is where I feel you and Mom messed up as parents. And he gave me the list of things. And I listened and I said, you know what? You're right. You're 100% right, son. I should have done this differently with you. I shouldn't have put these expectations. I should have let your sister be a kid and not give her, you know, because all my children are mixed.
Okay.
I'm Latino and Sicilian. Their mom is African American. And my youngest two children, they're African American and what I mixed with.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with my daughter, I said, you have 2 strikes in the road off the rip. One, you're a woman, and 2, you're an African American woman. So you have to be successful. You can't settle for anything. That put a lot of pressure on her in school.
Definitely.
And that kind of messed her up a little bit. With Joey, it was the same thing, but he was the oldest. So I expected him to, okay, you're the oldest boy. You need to be responsible. You need to do X, Y, and Z. And I was a little harder on him than what I probably should have been.
How old was he again?
19 when he took his life. And I listened to him. And at the end of the conversation, you know, I knew his mom was flying back there to spend time with him. I don't have any relationship with her at all whatsoever. And I said, look, son, you know, I'm not going to call you while your mama's out there, because I want to respect the fact that she's out there with you and your uncle and your auntie. But when she's gone, I'm going to call you. So on the 29th of June of 2020, I knew she had left and I was going to call him. I literally got caught up doing something work related. And I was like, I'm going to call him later. And I got on the sticks and started playing 2K. Honest to God. I should have just called him. Because the next morning when I woke up, I went about my day, went about my business. And at 5 o'clock, I got a call from my ex-brother-in-law. And he was like, bro, are you okay? I said, I'm good. I'm grinding. Like, what's up? Like, I'm working. Like, what do you mean, am I okay? Of course. What's up with you? He goes, you don't know. It was about 30 minutes earlier my son took his life. He hung himself. He lived with his maternal grandparents in Oklahoma. He hung himself from a tree in their ranch. And dude, the hardest thing in my life that I ever had to do was call my grandmother who helped raise me and tell her. That was the first person I called. Now, I say this because I've been lucky. Because the woman in my life now, Jaleesa, she's been through this before. And she's been a rock for everything I've been going through. And then trust me, it's a process. So I reached out to some people, and after prior to his services, and I got help. I wanted to see a therapist because I need to talk about this stuff. I'm a talker.
Of course, I got
mean, you know that,
of course,
Jose. You know,
bro.
like,
yeah, definitely.
And I'm not one to hide my feelings.
Not at all. Not at all.
You'll see it on my face. My body language. So, yeah, man. So, it's been a journey. It's not one I wear with the badge of honor, because what my son has done is given me another thing to be passionate about.
Correct.
Which is mental health for kids, and really, kids in communities that are really in the hood, because we don't have, growing up, we didn't have that. Like what do we hear? Oh, toughen up.
Toughen up.
You know, suck it up.
Stop crying.
Yeah, quit being a bitch. That.
You gotta be careful.
Oh, I'm
Good. It's all good. It's all good. I give you a heads up before the show. You give my
yeah,
man.
but that's what we would hear.
Yeah.
And now, and ironically, I have 2 babies now, 2 and 1. Yo, that's different. It's different now. We don't have that conversation. It's what's wrong. Why do you feel this way? Now, there's times where it's like, look, you need to stop because you're just being a crybaby. Believe me, I'm still old school when it comes to that. But
correct.
But like, I'm more apt to listen now and consider feelings. So yeah, man, it's mental health is the real thing. It's a real problem, and I think we need to. You know, I'm a former athlete, and we don't talk about that in the locker rooms and clubhouses. Honestly, you know.
True.
So, and I give coaches, and we can talk about it later with some of the coaches that we brought up. Like, that's something that we need to talk about, and they do, to their credit. But man, I miss my son every day. This is the time of year from October through January. It's really tough because October, from my previous relationship, that was like my kids and their mom loved Halloween, so it became like a huge ordeal in our house. Thanksgiving, we always went to my family or her family, her Mima, her grandmother's house, and it's the whole family. Gotcha. And then Christmas obviously is Christmas, and then his birthday is December 30th. So this is the time of year where I kind of like, you know, it's tough, but you know, my son left a mark on this. Like, not to get on it like too deep, but like when he passed away, and started to get out amongst my close friends, and then it just started to spread like wildfire. Like, I'm getting calls from people, and they're like, literally, it was a Tuesday. That Wednesday from 8 in the morning until 11 at night, my phone did not stop ringing one time. Like, as soon as I got the phone rang. I'm on the phone and it's ringing. The next day, it slowed down a little bit. There was probably about 400 or 500 people in that 24-hour, 48-hour period that reached out. That's the impact, the reach that he had. In only 19 years. So that gave me perspective flying back from his services. Me, with what I do, you know, in my career, how much of an impact do we have?
Correct.
We have mics, cameras. We have radios and TVs.
Social media platforms.
Everything.
Yep.
Think about the power that we have and the big responsibility that is. You know what I mean? So, I mean...
that's deep, bro. Yeah. That's deep.
It's real talk, though.
I appreciate you being open and talking about it because, like you said, it's a conversation that needs to be had. And I haven't been through that. I've had suicidal thoughts. I talked about it on shows before with Quan. 2020 was a rough year for me. I literally almost thought about killing myself. So I get it, bro. And I've never had a family member, you know, do that or anything like that. So it's hard for me to relate in that context. You know what I mean? But the one thing I can relate to you that you say is, yes, speaking up is not bad at all. Speaking up is good. Talking about it sometimes is good because it lets you reflect on all the good. Yes, whatever it might have been that, you know, your son was going through, you can't change that now. We know that. But you can make what he was doing right, you know, the things that made him who he was continue in this life. You know what I mean? And the fact that you get to talk about it and you're open about it, man, I commend you for that, bro, because I know that's tough, bro. Definitely.
It is. It's weird because, like, the other day, I was talking about it with somebody, and for the first time in a few months, I broke down on the phone. And it's weird because 2020, I lost 7 people, including my son.
Yikes.
This year, in the last 4 months, I lost 2, including one of my best friends and a guy who I consider a father figure. His services are on the 29th, and they are both lost to COVID. Wow. So, 2020 was tough, but when I came into 2021, I'm going to find the positive in everything because there's always a positive, no matter what. Either it's a growth thing from you as a person, or it's something that you could help somebody. But the reality is you always can grow from something. And that's what I took out of 2020. And that's where I'm at now. Okay. Honestly, like, everything's positive, no matter what. Like, what happened with my son, it sucks. And I'm a part of a fraternity that I don't want to be a part of, but I'm in it, and there's certain people that we're in it together. There's someone in local media that one of my best friends, same thing as me, and his son passed before mine. His son passed in January, mine was in June. And like, we were walking out of an Aces game, and I was like, bro, he said to me, he goes, Joe, I don't know how you could talk about it. Like, I still struggle. And I go, this is therapy to me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm here for you. And
exactly. It's different for everybody.
Exactly. And I respect that. You know what I'm saying? It's real talk. I respect that. So, I mean, I think we live in a world now where everybody's jaded. Everybody has to be right. Everybody has to be the alpha male in the room. Nah, sometimes I don't want to be. Like, you won't catch me out and about looking like, if I'm not going to dress up to be out and about. I don't, I think we see each other a couple times at games.
Yeah.
I don't get dressed up to go to a game. I'm not the story. The story's the players.
He was dressed up for the Utah State game though, because he had a couple of ex-players that you coached, so you had to look.
No, you know what? I did, but I was going.
Slacks.
I was supposed to go out that night.
Oh, okay.
That's all I was planning. I was planning ahead. I was going to drive back up to where I live to come back down and go out. But
that's right.
But yeah, I did. I had. In that game, Savon Scarver from Utah State.
Okay.
I coached him at Centennial. And Davon Walden from UNLV.
Okay.
Coached him at Centennial out here. And then Aaron Lewis from UNLV. I've known Aaron's family. Like, his mom and I have known each other since high school. I met her mom on the bus coming back from a mall. And then, ironically, I met her daughter the next day.
Really?
And me and her have been cool ever since. So, like, I got dudes I've known, like Vic Viramontes. Like, Vic, I've known Vic since Vic was 14 years old. You know what I mean? So I got a bunch of guys on that team that I've known a long time. Even Chuck Williams. I've known Chuck since his freshman year. So like, it's a bunch of guys that I've known for.
Told you, Joe, man. Joe knows everybody.
It's just good people, man. I like being around people. But I mean, so yeah, but I don't get dressed up for that. But I want people to underestimate me. I want people to underestimate franchise sports media. I want people to underestimate, like, man, they wear their shirts and they do da. But then when we step out, it's like, oh, wait, your partner is him? That's your business partner? Oh. You know what I mean?
The conversation changes.
Yeah, everything changes.
Yeah,
so that's the part that's cool, man. And honestly, man, look, I'm blessed.
Gotcha.
I really feel I'm blessed. And it took my son's passing for me to really realize that. Because I going through a very, very messy separation, how I was done, I was done dirty. Like, dirty. When I mean dirty, folks, I mean dirty. Okay?
Sucio.
Yeah, sucia. She was a sucia, big time.
Oh, man.
But I came out of it okay. It made me stronger. And what it did is it helped me recenter myself, refocus on myself, and refine myself because I lost myself.
Damn. Write that. Can we rewind that? Write that quote down for next time. Nah, but that's good though, Joe. Honestly, man, I see a normal person in you, if that makes sense. I don't see someone that's still grieving. I don't see someone that's still going through it because of the way you're talking about it, man. It's awesome, bro.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
definitely, my man. Definitely.
There's no point in hiding from it. What am I going to say? Oh, I don't want to talk about it. Why? Because then now somebody that's out there, what if they're going through it?
Yep.
And they could be like, all right, yo, this cat who I just hear him for the first time talk. This cat got through it. Like, he seems okay. So how can I get through it? And I had a great support group. Don't get me wrong. TQ. My grandmother, my family. I have a real close friend named Tim Scott. Man, my guy Tim, every day we talk, but it started back then. We talked all the time then. But it was like every single day we're on the phone and he's talking to me about it. And you okay? What are you talking about? My guy Joe Ward, at one point, like, I was basically living in hotels out here. Like, not like, I never talked about this publicly. But like, when I left the house because I gave her an ultimatum, out for like a month and a half, 2 months, I was living in either Fiesta or stuff on the north side, or I would stay at Red Rock, or I
Pleasant Suites or whatever.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't staying in any of those. But I would get a room for like a week.
Damn.
And then go to another one for like a week. And my boy Joe Ward was like, "Nah, bro, I can't." Like, I've known him since we were kids. Like 8 years old, playing Little League against each other. And he was just like, "Yo, come live in my apartment with me. I can't have you living like this, bro."
That's what's up, bro. That's a real friend. True
That
friend.
is. That's real. That's my brother. So like, I'm like, you know what? Cool. And I kind of don't pay anything. Just get yourself together. And out of the ashes came, like, franchise was already starting to move, but like, it was like franchise, and it was, I met somebody, and then it's kind of life started to go in a different direction. Yeah. So it was all good.
Which is crazy. A lot of people don't know this. I almost worked for Joe in franchise sports media.
I wanted him.
Joe was the first person to ever hit me up and like make me an offer and say, "Hey, I like what you're doing. I want you to come work for me." And I was humbled by it, but I didn't take it because at that point I couldn't give you my all. Remember, I told you
100%.
If I'm gonna take an opportunity like that, it's something that I'm gonna say, "Hey, I'm gonna give my all, 100% run with it." But franchise is doing good, man. You guys are doing a lot of stuff. But Bradford, I know you had a question, man. You were waving me down.
Yeah. So I looked into UNLV, I know that they are supporting Helinski's Hope for mental health and awareness. And I was just wondering, where did that support come from, or if when they started supporting that group?
Well, ironically, Ryan Helinski went to the same high school I did.
Okay.
I coached players that played with him on that team at Upland High School. And he went to college with my nephew, Isaiah Love, at Washington State.
Okay.
So I know the Helinski family fairly well. I think it's Coach Arroyo.
Okay.
And Desiree Reed-Francois, the former athletic director, she was really big on mental health and players' mental health and everything like that. So I had a lot to do with it. But Coach Arroyo, I mean, look, people can say what they want about him. We can get into him a little bit later. He's really big on that with his players. He makes sure that their mental health is cool. He makes sure that they're okay. If they're not, then obviously he'll do whatever he has to do to pull them aside and get them the help that they need. But UNLV as a whole, as a university, they're all about that. In fact, the interview's dropping on, I believe, Saturday, but interim athletic director Eric Harper sat down with me last week.
Okay.
And Harp and I talked, that's one of the things we talked about, was about like, hey, what's up, the mental health side of things. And he's like, look, I asked him what he learned from Desiree and from Tina Kunzer-Murphy. And he was like, athletes' mental health first. That, and Eric is a former player. Eric played in the 80s at Kansas State. He played his senior year was Coach Snyder's last year at K-State.
Okay.
So it's a different era, but he gets it.
Oh, it's a big deal. I mean, you just had Lane Johnson take 3 weeks away from the Eagles because he admitted that he's been battling through depression and anxiety, and that's what's actually kept him out. He had to fly home from the Chiefs game, right, 2 hours before the game. So it's a big deal. We had Brandon Brooks the year before that was dealing with it. So you're seeing a lot more of NFL players throughout the seasons actually telling us about
speaking up
about their depression, their anxiety, their mental health portion, because a lot of people just see the physical aspect. They don't actually think about the mental stress that these NFL players are going through. So I think it is a big deal, and I'm glad that there are more colleges that are actually going through and helping their players deal with these things before it becomes a big issue.
I like how you threw. I like how he had to throw his Eagles in there. You see how he did that?
That was real slick. That was slick. No, but
I always have to talk about my Eagles.
Let's look to 2 examples. I'm gonna give you 2 examples. One is Carl Nassib.
Okay.
After everything with the Gruden situation, people were pissed that he was taking a mental day. Why?
Yeah.
This is the dude you spent hours and days with, and he's talking about the community you're a part of now, or been a part of. Why wouldn't you feel some type of way about it? Like that's human nature.
Correct.
And the second one is my brother. I call him my brother. He played. We grew up together. My grandparents helped raise him. Him and his other brother that's my age, and he played 5.5 years in the NFL and 5.5 years, 6 years in Canada.
Okay.
He's back east right now because he's a part of the concussion thing, and they're doing because he has to, and he's battling some CTE and stuff. Now think about that. You know what I'm saying? These are grown men that are in the top 1% of their a career.
Yeah.
And they're saying my mental health's important.
Yeah.
What's an average Joe, no pun intended? What's an average Joe to say? Why are we tougher than them?
And I mentioned something about the Nassib thing, right? So he took a day because he needed it because John Gruden mentioned something about homosexuals and said homophobic remarks. He said a lot about black people too. And if every black person on the Raiders took a personal day for the same thing, there would have been hell raised. If 30 people or however many black athletes are on the Raiders, which is a lot, which is probably the majority of the Raiders, took a personal day, there would have been hell raised.
Yeah. But I mean,
so I think society is picking and choosing on who can do things and who can't.
Yeah.
Well, did you guys see the Chappelle show? The Chappelle Netflix.
I seen that clip. I seen that clip that everyone's talking about where he talks about the baby or whatever.
Well, not even the baby. It was beyond that. He talked about Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm just gonna paraphrase. If you haven't seen the spoiler, but
remember, no bad word.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm gonna keep it clean. So basically, Kevin Hart, he was a gopher.
Career.
Yeah, he was a gopher for Chappelle and you name it. And his whole goal was to host the Emmys.
Gotcha.
And he had some remarks that he regrettably made in the past on social media. And the LBGTQ community, like, basically ran him off.
Yeah.
And Chappelle's like, okay, like, that was a long time ago. And it's wrong. And he talked about another comedian who is a transgender person. And that person would come to all of his shows in San Francisco, sit in the front row and laugh hard at all of his jokes. And then one time he talked to that person afterwards and was like, look, why don't you come open for me? And they bombed. I mean, just bombed. And instead of ducking and hiding, they went back and sat in the front row and laughed at all the jokes. So he had him come backstage. And he got a chance to talk with him more and understood, ask questions. And he was like, okay, cool. Well, the next time Chappelle did something and he made a homophobic remark, the alphabet community just blew him up. And that the comedian went on and said, defended him. Hey, I've talked with him. It's not what he's about. This is who he is. And 5 days later, that person committed suicide. So Chappelle said at the end, all you talk about is punching down on your community. And he's talking about executives in Hollywood. Look what you did to Kevin. So stop punching down on mine, and threw the mic down and walked off stage.
Yeah. Wow.
So my question was this. Why would, and I said this on the podcast TQ and I do. Why is it okay? Why was it okay for an apology from John Gruden about African-American people and what he said about DeMaurice Smith? Yeah. And I got a story about that too. But the minute he turned to the other community, that's when his head had to be chopped off. That's when it was wrong. That's when he had to be fired. So are you saying that the African American community is less than other communities?
So I'll add this to that. I think why the Raiders situation is even more tougher, and I haven't even heard this talked on national radio or even on ESPN, is the fact that Mark Davis is the owner of the WNBA Las Vegas Aces. If he was not an owner of a WNBA team, I don't think it would have been as swift, if that makes sense. Would it have happened? Probably, but not as fast. Yeah. I think the fact that he is the owner of a WNBA team, which the WNBA is supported by 90% of the LGBT, I don't want to mess it up, but, that community. And it's like, I think that's why it was even. I'm not saying that, Gruden should still be around. It's okay. No. But think about it. If this was any other owner that does not own a WNBA team, it would have probably not happened the way it happened. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where it was against blacks or it was against gays, lesbians, this, that. It's not right, period.
I agree 100%.
And you got to understand that if you're talking crap and it's documented, whether it's electronically, through paper and pen, someone's going to find it if you don't get rid of it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying I do that stuff. If I say something, I speak it and that's it, but I speak it. I'm not going to put something where I can get myself in trouble, put my foot in my mouth, and then I'm done 10 years later.
Right.
Because this dude just lost a contract. He's in the process of a buyout now, which kind of sucks to me because of the way everything happened, but I get it. He's owed his money. There's just so much going on with that situation that it's crazy, man.
Keep in mind, when he was done with this contract, he could have got back in TV and there's another 40, 50, 60 million.
And now that probably hurt.
And that's gone. Gone. So, I mean, the end of the day is like...
They're removing him from Madden.
Yeah, they've already removed him.
They've already removed him from Madden.
I don't think I've ever... Mike Vick didn't even get removed from Madden. As crazy as that
Ray
sounds.
Rice?
No, Ray Rice didn't even get removed from Madden.
Kareem Hunt's still there. All these players that have done it. I mean, you can still play as Deshaun Watson even with the pending 22
of course,
allegations. But
I mean, but the thing about the DeMaurice Smith thing, TQ was telling me this. He was at a dinner table with a couple of NFL agents and DeMaurice Smith.
Gotcha.
And this was at a restaurant in Atlanta. His cousin plays in the NFL. One of his cousins, he's got multiple cousins playing in the NFL, but one of his cousins is a very prominent player. And this is right when he was coming out. And the joke in the NFL circle was about D. Smith's lips. So it wasn't something that
Gruden basically started.
It wasn't just Gruden started this thing. So I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that was in that circle.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it bothered me as as a Latino, like what if he said something about us?
I get it.
You know what I mean? Would it have been brushed underneath the rug, or would it have been something else?
Well,
if it's Latinos, I think it probably would have been brushed underneath the rug. It would have been quick. It would have been quick and done with it. And I'm not saying that against anyone else, but it's just facts. If you look at it, if you're black and something happens in the leagues in general, of course, it's huge. And I get that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If you're gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever it is, same thing. But a lot of Latinos get stuff swept around the road when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
I'm not saying in the world of politics and all that, because I don't talk politics. But I'm talking about in the world of sports, a lot of stuff that do happen to Latinos get swept underneath the rug. Unless the Latino did something wrong, then you hear about it all over the place. Exactly.
Yeah. But that's I wish the POC community, the people of color community, could come together and do the same thing that the LGBTQ community did. Because whatever they did, it needs to be replicated so we don't have the same problems going forward.
If you're going to be a social warrior, you need to be a social warrior across all platforms. You can't just be saying this is wrong, but this isn't wrong. Like, you have to be equally as upset about things that happen in the black community and the Latino community as you do as the LGBT community. It has to be the same all around. If you're actually preaching equality, be for equality. Don't be equality for just one particular group. I don't think that's right. And we're seeing that with the NFL investigation. They're now saying that no other owners, no other coaches were implicated in this, and yet they're still not releasing 650,000 emails.
That'll be a conversation. That'll be a conversation for another show.
Yeah.
But anyways, man, once again, you're tuning in to Straight Bet Sports live here on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. Jose V. Bradford in the building. We got Joe Arrigo of Franchise Sports Media. Quan 59 behind the big board doing what he does for us every night. But Joe, tomorrow night, spot that you and I will be at, we'll be at Allegiant Stadium for UNLV versus San Jose State. We know what San Jose State did last year. Surprise team. No one expected them to go undefeated. Win the Mountain West, go undefeated, let alone. You know what I mean? It was crazy season. Of course, pandemic season, a lot of different things happened, so made it a lot easier. We're seeing who the true San Jose State is this year, but they're coming into town tomorrow night. We know what Chuck Williams has been doing. Tough loss last week against Utah State. They should have won that game. A lot of people say that there is no excuse. That should have been their first W of the season. You're the UNLV guy. You're the football guy. Joe, what are we seeing for tomorrow night's matchup here?
It's homecoming.
Correct.
San Jose State's offense is not what it was last year. They lost two dynamic wide receivers. The defense is legit.
Okay.
But there's quarterback issues.
Okay.
Nick Starkel, who was the guy last year, he's been injured, but he's cleared to go, so he may get on the field tomorrow. The guy that's the backup, he's definitely going to play. He's going to start. He started last week against San Diego State. Look, UNLV is going into last week, 495 plays. Out of those 495 plays, what separated them from victory were 12 to 15. 12 to 15, that's 2 to 3%. Separates them at that time from 3-2 or 0-5. There's about 4 or 5, not even that, maybe 2 or 3 plays in this last game on Saturday night that separated them from victory. That's still 2 or 3%. They're right there at the door, ready to kick it down. Like I'll use the Tupac analogy. Do you remember when Tupac was doing an interview and Pac said, the king's eating all the food and the people in the city that's around them are starving and they're knocking the door. We are hungry, please let us in. We don't have no food, and they close the door. Come back a little while later, knock, say the same thing. We are hungry, please let us in. No. By the third or fourth time, they're going to kick in the door. I'm coming through the fourth door with the 4-4 blasting. That's UNLV at the win table right now, man. UNLV is at that point where they're literally about to kick the door down and get a win. And I do think it happens on Thursday night. The reason why I say that is the way the defense is playing. The defense is playing a lot better. Really up front. They're more physical. You got to credit the linebackers. I mean, AJ Ajuke and Jacoby Windman, and Jacoby's a Sunday player. Jacoby can play on Sundays somewhere.
Jacoby, yeah.
Yeah, and they had 18 and 16 tackles respectively between them. So, I mean, that's, 34 tackles between them. The defensive front's playing well, and it's a team that spreads you out.
Gotcha.
Adam Plant, LaShawn Bell, and Brendan Scott were playing almost a nickelback type situation. So I like that. And then the secondary is playing well. I like moving Jonathan Baldwin into the free safety spot and letting Phil Hill play the strong safety where Phil can kind of fill, no pun intended, and come like we call him downhill Phil because he can come down and lay hat to you. You know, and then you obviously have Baldwin, who's a playmaker back there. And then Noel Williams is arguably the best corner in the Mountain West, and he's only a sophomore. Aaron Lewis is, he's a dog out there. I mean, he'll give up some things, but he's going to fight you all the way and make it tough for you. And then you have Cam Oliver, a freshman that has 2 interceptions, almost returned one to the crib last week. Offensively, Doug Brumfeld's out. It's a back issue. I'll say this. I don't know if Doug's going to play the rest of the year. I mean, anytime when it comes to a back and it's a quarterback or in any sport, you got to be careful. Coach Arroyo alluded to that in his press conference on Monday. He said that it's a back issue. He's not going to rush him back because it's a back. He's thinking long term.
Mm-hmm. So and that's another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. And in my opinion, since I've been following UNLV and watching it, they just haven't been able to figure out the quarterback position. Not necessarily coaching, you know what I mean? Because I still want to give some credit to Tony Sanchez. I think he did some good here. You know what I mean?
He's one of the most influential people here.
A lot of people talk bad about him because he's a high school coach going to college, but I think it's always been the whole quarterback situation. They haven't solidified that spot yet. If you think about it, defenses had their woes. We get that a lot better now. Offense is there. If I'm reading this correctly, they're ranked 13th nationally in red zone offense, which is crazy for a UNLV team because you wouldn't think of that.
Look at their red zone defense.
37th.
It should be a lot higher. They've had about 6 or 7 red zone stops this year alone.
Does Adam Plant play on Sundays, you think? Because you just mentioned the other kid, I'm sorry. You mentioned Wyndham.
I think Plant has a chance to play on Sundays, but that's when I don't know.
Okay.
If I'm being fair, I mean, I think I would like to see out of and Plant walking off the bus looks like he could play for the Raiders.
He's big kid. I've had him on the show before. Yeah. He's been here before. Huge kid.
Great kid.
Oh yeah,
great kid. I would like to see a more complete game from him. It's not about just rushing the passer or crashing. Unless someone's coming down to spill, it's not about just rushing the passer. It's about playing to run well. And he's in the last 2 weeks, he's done a great job of that. That was been my biggest complaint with him last year and this year. It's like, man, there's running right off your backside.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's scheme because your linebacker, your safety is supposed to come down and spill, or is it that's you're just going to get to the quarterback because there's more to being a defensive end outside linebacker than getting to the quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great kid. I think he's got a chance to. But I mean, again, I think just like Jacoby, he needs to wait another year. I think really all the juniors need to come back.
I agree with you 100%. They come back, it's gonna be something different. It's gonna be some killer.
How many touches are you expecting from Chuck?
He had 29 last week. I'll say about the same. Look, Chuck's 163 yards away from breaking the all-time UNLV rushing.
Let him know, Joe. Let him know.
163. And look, Chuck's a great kid. I mean, and I say that he's a father. I mean, he's a doting father at that. And there's 2 types of Chuck on the field. You got the Chuck that's gonna just like he's going about his business, and then you got the angry, ticked off Chuck.
I've seen angry, ticked off Chuck on the field.
That was last week, and that was Fresno State. And you see the difference.
Passion.
Yes, and I think Chuck's going back to that. And I'll tell you, like, it broke my heart on Saturday night. I didn't go down to the press room. I stayed up in the press box.
Gotcha.
I was as red as my sweater in the face. That's how angry I was at that loss, and I took it personal.
I got you.
Because I actually I like a lot of people, I thought that was a very winnable game. And Chuck said, if I just would have given 5% more, we would have won this game. I would have made it easier for Jacoby and the defense.
Shows the heart.
But the thing is you ran for 221. You had 3 touchdowns, Chuck.
Man.
What do you need, 300 yards?
Yeah, but what he was talking about, there was his last carry of the game. It was the series before the final series for UNLV. The series before Cam Friel got hurt.
Okay.
It was 3rd down and I think 6. Chuck takes a handoff going off tackle. He gets by the D-line. There's one guy to beat this linebacker, and he dives and just kind of clips his foot. And Chuck goes down. If he doesn't clip Chuck's foot, Chuck is still running. And that game is iced.
Gotcha.
Different story.
So Chuck took that I let my team down. Yeah. And in turn, I talked to players on the team. That got them going for this week. If Chuck is feeling that way,
Watch out for UNLV tomorrow.
Yeah, I like, so I was on another show earlier and they asked me, do I think they're going to win? I was like, yeah, and I think they're going to win convincingly.
So final thought, because we got to jump off of that. We got 10 more minutes, and I want to get into some NFL with Joe real quick, because we get our guests. Whenever we have a guest on here, we have our guest picks, which big shout out to Mike Davis, coach of the Vegas Nighthawks. We were hanging out at Red Rock this past weekend. If you saw the show, his pick was Arizona. Arizona came through, so another winner for our guest. So real quick, Joe, final thought. Final score tomorrow. Give us a prediction. What are we going to see UNLV?
35-17 UNLV.
Ooh, convincingly. All right. I like it.
I said convincingly. I mean, I wasn't. Look, and I'll say
we're going to cut the clip and we're going to have it set for tomorrow, so be ready.
I'll say this. I expect Cam Friel to start, and I expect Justin Rogers to be the backup.
Okay.
Which I not to pile on him or second guess anybody, I just don't see how or why that happens, because we've seen what you get with Justin Rogers.
Correct.
But I think you're going to see Tate Martell used in a variety of ways against San Jose State, and I feel like Cam Friel can manage a game for you. I feel, even though we haven't seen it since high school, I feel Tate Martell can win a game for you.
Okay.
And that's with Doug out. And Doug's special. Doug's a Sunday guy, too, if he's healthy.
There it is. So if you guys are looking and watching that game tomorrow, make sure you keep an eye on the quarterback situation. Should be a fun one to watch. Again, Joe and I will be there, as everyone else, hopefully, in Las Vegas decides to jump in. It's a great atmosphere. Trust me. I know people say, well, it's not winning football, whatever. You know what? It's Allegiant Stadium. Go check it out. Go have a good time. Support these young men, man. The more the merrier, the more noise, the more people that are there hypes them up to play even better. That's what you guys don't think about. Just because the talent's not there, you think the talent's not there because of the record, don't look at that. Support these kids. If we want this program to grow, you got to go out there and support. But guys, let's move on. Before I do one more final shout out that I got to do, Dwayne Colucci and his pops, Michael, were out there at the Vegas Golden Knights game. Big shout out to them. I saw them earlier. He was a little upset because I was at Red Rock. He's like, man, you didn't come down to my book. You're supposed to be at Rampart, not Red Rock. I told him I'll check him out soon, man. But check him out over at Rampart Racing Sportsbook. And, of course, his podcast, If and Reverse, on all audio platforms. Go ahead and check him out today. Dwayne Colucci, big friend of ours. But, guys, we got 8 minutes here. Let's jump into our picks. Ian, we both had Buffalo last week, and you switched it up on me last minute and said, no, I'm not going to take Buffalo. So I lost once again. Yeah. I am now 1-5 on the season, which I don't even want to talk about. But I'm going to let you go first tonight since you did.
Does that count as a win, though?
Who did you take last week?
Rams. I ended up switching into the Rams.
Which, that's another game I don't even want to talk about because I was on Spaces with some people, and I really like the Giants to cover, and that didn't happen.
No. I told you they were going to dominate.
You won
them.
once again. I believe you're still undefeated since you joined the
4-0.
show.
I told you I was going to go 16-0.
If you guys want to make money, don't take my picks and take Ian's picks. Simple. But Ian, I'll let you go first, my man. What do you got for tonight?
All right. So, assuming it doesn't change, this line's shifting all the time because the Browns are incredibly injured.
You going for tomorrow night's game?
Tomorrow's night's game. I like the Broncos money line. I think they got this.
So you're taking them? Are you taking them just straight up?
I'm taking them straight up.
Okay. It's -2. So they're getting +2.
There's not really a point differential right there. So I feel the money line's the better value. But you have Baker. You have their left tackle, their center, there's 3 tackles that are out. You have Jarvis Landry that's banged up. You have Odell that's banged up. Baker Mayfield just got declared out. So you have Case Keenum starting.
Good old Case. Good old
Teddy Bridgewater is supposed to play. We'll see if he does. I like the Broncos a lot. I think they definitely win this.
That's all you got? That's all you got for me today?
I mean, I got a couple. If you want a Sunday one, I like the Bears plus 12.5. I don't think the Bucks are going to annihilate them. I think they're going to keep that close enough.
Let's see where that line is at. Yeah. So right now that line's at Bucks minus 12.5. Over and under 47. I like the over in that game. I think we could see 47 definitely. Money, obviously, it's only Wednesday early. 57% on the Bucks, 43 on the Bears. So it's fairly even. Granted, we can see a lot of money change there coming through Sunday, but it's a big line, man. But you can't be scared at all. That's your pick, though. Tomorrow night.
No, that's what I'm saying. Night's my pick. Yeah, Broncos.
Your pick tomorrow night. You got the Broncos.
Also, for overs, I really, really love the over for Saints and Seahawks. It's saying currently, I believe, at 43.5. I think that game's going to be a high-scoring game.
42.5 42.5 right now currently.
Yeah, so I like the over on that.
I can see that. Joe, what's up, man? We got to get one from you too, my man.
All right.
What can you give us?
No, I'm gonna go Green Bay.
Okay, let's see.
I think this was a
minus 8.5 currently.
Oh, it's gone down. It was 9.5. It opened at 9.5, so it's gone down.
No, I like Green Bay to cover that.
Okay.
I think this week, Washington can't stop the run.
Correct.
They have quarterback issues, and the secondary is not good at all.
It's not good, but they've been scoring with everyone.
Yeah,
like
but
they even were scoring with the Chiefs, and you can't say that the Packers defense is that much better than the Chiefs.
I think it's way better than the Chiefs. Are you kidding me?
I mean,
the secondary.
They haven't really played any prolific offenses though.
They still have to stop people.
Joe's like,
what prolific offense did the Chiefs play?
Chargers
Chargers
got a great offense.
Yeah. They do. Okay.
And defensively, they're playing a lot better this year. Even though they got their
Browns
behind handed to them last week,
and they played healthy Browns.
Look, Green Bay gets Bakhtiari back this week.
Okay.
So now you have Elton Jenkins and Bakhtiari on the left side, or probably Elton Jenkins sliding to center with Runyon staying on that left guard. Which that offensive line now is Billy Turner is playing lights out at right tackle for him. Whitney Merciless just signed with them.
Correct.
So Jalen Smith has another week in the system. Rasul Douglas at corner with Jair Alexander came in and did a phenomenal job to the point where they cut Quentin Dunbar today.
Yeah, I saw they cut him. I didn't see that they signed Merciless.
Yeah, they signed Whitney Merciless.
That's awesome.
That was
signing.
earlier today.
See that.
Earlier today.
And then Kenny Clark is arguably the best defensive tackle in the game outside of Aaron Donald.
Right now.
So
this season.
And then they have the best receiver in the NFL, bar none. And Aaron Jones running again, and A.J. Dillon, one of the top two combination running backs, and it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And he's coming off a game where he really is. I mean, hell, he was upset that he got caught saying that he owns Chicago. So now he's gonna come into this.
I still own you.
Yeah. So now he's gonna come into this week like, all right, let me go ahead and.
They actually changed the Bears Wikipedia page.
I seen that. That's great.
Aaron Rodgers is the owner of the Bears, which I thought was great.
Ultimate troll job.
All right, so Ian's got the Broncos tomorrow, money line +2, whatever you want to call it, but he thinks they're gonna win. Guest of the show tonight, Joe Arrigo's taking the Packers over the Washington football team at home in Green Bay, minus the 8.5. My pick of the week, I'm going to stay close to home. I think this team has gotten better with the departure of John Gruden, and it showed last week. Kenyon Drake was finally used, which he should have been used a lot more throughout the beginning part of the season. He scored a touchdown receiving, he scored a touchdown rushing, and he balanced himself out and had a very, very good game, which is something that the Raiders need to alleviate some of that load off of Josh Jacobs. If you want Josh Jacobs to continue being your bell cow, the guy that you're going to keep pounding the ball with, you also have to have a guy that can give him some rest, a guy that can help him stay off that injury list, because that's all we've seen from Josh Jacobs since he's came into the league. And the kid is way too talented for us to see him on the bench week in and week out because of injuries. With that being said, I'm taking the Raiders, -3. I like Vic. That's the new head coach's name, the interim coach. I think it's Vic. I forgot his last name. Rich. I'm sorry, Rich. Yeah. I like Rich. And the reason being, a lot of people don't give credit. He's a special teams guy. Special teams coordinators are with every single player on that team. They have relationships. They know everyone because a guy on defense might be on special teams. A guy on offense might be on special teams. They have those relationships with these guys. And a lot of people are writing the Raiders off now. I didn't know what to expect after week 1, but they lost to the Bears with everything going on with John Gruden. Yeah. John Gruden's out, and they look like a completely different team. They look more comfortable. Again, Kenyon Drake, I think, is the key to this offense. Derek Carr is on pace to break records, and no one wants to talk about him, yet they keep saying he's not the guy. I still hear birds chirping in my ear talking about Mariota, which I do not understand. If you want to use Marcus Mariota like a Taysom Hill type of guy, I'm all for that. There's ways that you can use Marcus for that. But Marcus is not the future at quarterback for this team. Start giving Derek Carr his roses while he's still around when it's due, and give him his credit. Trust me.
Yeah, Derek Carr's much better than people think.
Hopefully I can break out of my skid. But I'm
hoping you're wrong. Is it just because it's against my Eagles? I'm hoping you're wrong.
Exactly.
Well, the thing I like about your pick when you bring up Carr is he's involved in the play calling now and involved with the game planning. I think him and Olsen work real well together. They had in the past. And you've seen that last week. I think they're playing way loose, and I love that. And the defense, taking way more chances.
Yeah.
Joe, let everybody know where they can find you, my man. We got to get going.
On Twitter at Joe Arrigo FSM, and follow the franchise at the franchise LV on all social media platforms.
And real quick, 30 seconds, anything special you got coming up that you can plug out?
We got athletic director at UNLV, the interim, Eric Harper. We got his interview coming out. We also did the exclusive one-on-one with good old Coach Marcus Arroyo.
Check that one out if you have not.
You know, we're the only ones that have that. And then we have some other good stuff coming up in the future. And then watch out for the high school football show, the prep rally. We got some good stuff on that as well. Me and Anthony Bernier, Big Ant, and the Ant 702.
Okay.
And when it comes to high school football out here, I defer to him a lot of times.
There we go. Joe, greatly appreciate you, my man. This was amazing. I'm glad we got to chop it up. I'm definitely going to do this with you again because we got a lot more stuff we got to talk about that we haven't gotten into. But I appreciate your time. God bless you and your family, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll be watching as always. I'll be following you. You know that, so we appreciate it. Brad, for any final words, 30 seconds, my man. We got to go.
Just follow Joe Arrigo over here, as well as make sure that it's not on there, but follow myself. I'm at IanB_sports.
There we go, man. Once again, man, this was another episode of Straight Bet Sports live here on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you chiming in. Our sponsors, Joshua LaFon, Eric Navarro from Line Them Up by Eric, our guest in the studio tonight, Joe Arrigo of Franchise Sports Media. Make sure you check him out. And, of course, the man that makes it all stick together like glue, Quan 59 behind the big boy. We greatly appreciate you. Again, thank you. Final thought of the night, speak up, don't stay quiet. It's always okay to talk about it. We appreciate you guys. Till next week, Jose V. Bradford, we are out. Peace.